Hi guys, T-Bull here. Today we're going to be looking at some of the basics of playing tank destroyers. So this first match is a Stug III G Tier 5 German tank destroyer on Malinoka. I'll just kind of talk over some of the basics while this match goes on in the background, and then the next match we'll kind of walk through it, and I can describe to you how I'm playing the game. So in general there are two types of tank destroyers. There's more heavily armored ones, which are kind of designed to be frontline brawlers playing up with the heavy tanks, and then there's more lightly armored tank destroyers which are going to be playing like a second line supporting role, providing covering fire for the more forward tanks. In lower tiers, basically all the tank destroyers are lightly armored support vehicles, and then as they progress, some of them become brawling lines, particularly like the American tank destroyer lines and the Jagdpanzer E100 line of the German. And then on the opposite end you have kind of like the Swedish tank destroyer line, which is kind of the epitome of stealthy sniper tank. So for equipment, the basic setup for tank destroyers that I usually run are binoculars and camo net, which both take a few seconds before they deploy. And then I also put a gun rammer on. It kind of gives you a little bit of the camo boost that you need, and the gun rammer helps you put out fire at an accelerated rate. For crew skills, most tanks they start off with Sixth Sense, which pops up an icon alerting you when you've been spotted by the enemy team. That's always helpful. After that, I'll usually go with Brothers in Arms, which is kind of provides a small boost to basically every crew skill, so that's helpful. After that, for basically when you're starting out the tank lines, you want to be putting camo next, and then if you end up developing the line, if it's a brawling line later on, you might switch the camo out for something else. And then for the 4 skill, I usually put silent driving. Basically, when you turn the tank right or left, just even a small amount, that negates your camo rating until the tank resets. So, and you're going to have to turn your tank a lot just because you have a limited area that your gun can cover. So if you have silent driving on there, that kind of negates some of the penalty for moving your tank around. After that, you want to focus on repair skills, both repairs and track repair, track mechanic. If your turretless tank destroyer gets tracked, which prevents you from moving, obviously, that's basically a game over for you. They can keep you permanently tracked and continue to pump damage into you until you're dead. And then for a lot of tank destroyers, being circled by smaller, faster tanks is also a major problem. So skills such as clutch braking and the other terrain one, off-road driving, those will help your tank turn left and right quicker, which will help deal with those kind of close encounter situations. Now I do want to recommend for tank destroyers that you use the full mini-map, like you can see I have in the lower right hand corner there. The default setting is the compass map, which doesn't show you very much. It's more of a close range tool. So if you go to your settings, and then I don't know exactly where they are, but if there's not a lot of settings to play with, you just put toggle mini-map, and then on PS4 you hold the big center button, whatever that's called, the touchpad, and can't remember what it is on Xbox, but you should be able to figure it out. Doing this will allow you to kind of see the battle as it unfolds and respond to what's going on accordingly. So kind of my number one tip for new tank destroyer players is you got to be in a position to support your teammates, which means you got to be willing to move around. You can see in this match that I've been playing here, I've moved around quite a bit. A lot of tank destroyer players, even players that have played quite a few games, they have the misconception that your job is to find some secluded spot way in the back of the map and then just sit there. And basically, if you do that, you're going to spend 90% of the game watching your team die in the mini-map and not being in a position to support them. So that doesn't mean for these lightly armored tank destroyers that you need to be on the front brawling it out with like heavy tanks or anything, but you need to be in a position where your teammates, they spot targets. If you can't see the target they're spotting, you're not in a good position. So you need to be able to move and get into a spot where you're actually engaged in the fight. But you know, and it'll come with experience, but finding spots on the map like that are behind bushes or that have like available hard cover like a big rock or something, you know, those are advantageous to find. But that's just TD players. I mean, the one I'm driving by right now, he hasn't moved all game. Maybe he's had some shots, you know, which might not be a bad position, but you'll see a lot of guys like sitting on the edge of the map, really not doing anything. And you know, you look at the scorecard at the end of the game, maybe they get a couple shots, you know, as the team pushes into their base. But if the rest of your team's already dead by the time you're shooting anyone, you're not doing it right. So, just taking a look at this game. Obviously, I've been moving around quite a bit and racking up quite a bit of damage. And, you know, this is kind of the mindset you want to be in. You're not just there to watch the game unfold. So that one we ended up with 7 kills. That was a ace master badge, I believe. Let's double check that. Yeah, so about 1,800 combined damage, and Top Gun you get for 6 kills, so 7 obviously qualifies. So that's a good match. Led the game in damage there. This next match is a 60G FT. It's the Tier 5 Chinese tank destroyer. And this is on Prokhorovka and in a counter battle. Tank destroyers a lot of the times they'll either play like the railroad tracks on like the 7 line or kind of the 1-2 area, which has a lot of bushes that you can use for cover. So you can see my buddy in A4, A5, I guess he's just gonna sit in the back like we talked about. So he's gonna be out of range, even if he had a clear line of sight at some targets that are spotted, which he probably won't for quite a while. They'll be out of his. He won't even be able to see him because they won't render on his screen. So we're pushing up. We're letting that light tank there spot some targets, and we're gonna get into a position where we can get some shots on them. So here's a tip for you. A lot of people don't understand the bush mechanics. Like if I was directly in that bush, it would appear translucent, which when you shoot, it won't be applying the camera right into it. If you're back, I think it's like 15 meters or so. But if the bush appears solid on your screen, then even when you shoot, you'll still maintain the bush's camera rating. So if you want to properly apply the bush, just be further behind it than a lot of people realize you need to be. Just sitting in it will help you when you're not shooting, but the minute you shoot, that'll negate your camo rating. So I got 1 kill down, and you know, we're still willing to push forward here. We got a KV-1, which is probably one of their bigger threats on this team at Tier 5 game. So again, you can see the bush is solid, so even when I'm shooting, he's not going to be able to spot me. You can see my 6th sense isn't going off on the left there. Now we tracked him, and even though he's not on my screen, because he's tracked, we can just keep laying down the trigger, and we're getting assisted damage for my teammates hitting him when he's tracked, and then picking up a couple shots of damage ourselves. Now finally that tank right there moved forward so he could spot me. You can see 6th sense went off. but he's not targeting us directly, so I'm alright. Now it appears he is looking at us, but we managed to finish him off before he takes a shot. So you want to always be checking your mini-map there to see what's going on, so we don't have any more targets spotted down south. Looks like a light tank has died, so nobody's really spotting here. So I'm going to pull forward, let the binoculars deploy, and see if I can spot anyone myself. And nobody's there. I don't want to pull too far forward outside of cover, because I'll be isolated by myself without any covering support. You can see our friendly TD in the north has finally decided to move. It's looks like about 3 minutes, 20 seconds into the game, so I guess his dinner was done, cooking or whatever he was doing, but he's actually deciding to get into the game now, which is good. So we're just kind of moving around, checking for targets ourselves, and then we notice a couple targets lit here on the hill, so again, you'll see those bushes are solid, even though they're far away from us. The bush mechanic still applies, so those guys can't spot us. A lot of tanks at this tier won't have great vision anyways, so I'm not too concerned about shooting here. See, we tracked them, and then picking up some more tracking damage and another kill. Up to 4 kills so far. The match is pretty much a rout at this point. I got 2 already and a few other stragglers. It's pulling forward a little bit more. I think I'm kind of checking for the arty at this point, but probably could have stopped there and taken a shot at the guy on the hill there. So at this point, I've kind of determined, based on the TD that's following me in my own position, that all the guys should be in this lower right-hand corner. Spot the first TD. Looks like he is trying to target us, but these low-tier arties, they can shoot every, I don't know, about 8 to 10 seconds or so you have to be careful of that. Higher-tier arties, you know, might have about 20 seconds between shots, give or take. So we're up to 6 kills now, and got the last victim right there. Finish him off for another 7-kill game. So that's a pretty basic intro to TDs, but again, the highlight is I'm moving around. You don't want to just sit back in the back camping. So if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, you can consider subscribing. If you have any comments or added tips that you want to add, please leave them below, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.